Hare Krishna. Can you hear me?
No, you're not on yet.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me? Hare Krishna. Pran Govinda Prabhu,
I can't hear you.
what's on the page?
The videos.
Hello? Hello, Hare Krishna.
If it's on here. Alright. Alright. We can see Daddy, she says.
Can you hear me though?
Okay. Unmute yourself.
I'm unmuted. Hello?
Yeah, you can hear.
You can hear.
Yeah.
Manchakalpa Turvyas Charkiba Sindhubhya Chapatitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha.
Unmute yourself.
So I'm not quite sure whether I'm told that you can see me. I'm not sure if everyone's hearing me. Okay, you are hearing me. Good. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nite Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaudavani Vacharane Nirvishesha Sunyavari Paschatya Desatara. Dear devotees, first of all, thank you for your blessings for our new grandson, Govinda Charan. We're here in Houston trying to help the family greet their new member, but we're happy to be with all of you on the Facebook, or the, whichever Facebook or Zoom, whichever facility this is, which is making it possible for us to be together this morning. So I'm going to read the verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya chapter 19, text 157. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Tate Malayana Kare Kare Avarana Aparada Hastira Yache Nahaya Udgama. Synonyms: Tate, therefore; Mali, the gardener, devotee; Yatnakari, with great attention; Kare, makes; Avarana, protective fencing; Aparada, of offenses; Hastira, of the elephant; Yache, so that; Na, not; Haya, there is; Udgama, birth. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. The gardener must defend the creeper by fencing it all around, so that the powerful elephant of offenses may not enter. Purport. While the bhakti creeper is growing, the devotee must protect it by fencing it all around. The neophyte devotee must be protected by being surrounded by pure devotees. In this way, he will not give the maddened elephant a chance to uproot his bhakti creeper. When one associates with non-devotees, the maddened elephant is set loose. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said, Asat Sangha Tyaga, E Vaishnava Achar. The first business of a Vaishnava is to give up the company of non-devotees. A so-called mature devotee, however, commits a great offense by giving up the company of pure devotees. The human being is a social animal, and if one gives up the society of pure devotees, he must associate with non-devotees, Atsat Sangha. By contacting non-devotees and engaging in non-devotional activities, a so-called mature devotee will fall victim to the mad elephant offense. Whatever growth has taken place is quickly uprooted by such an offense. One should therefore be very careful to defend the creeper by fencing it in, that is, by following the regulative principles and associating with pure devotees. Even if one thinks there are many pseudo-devotees or non-devotees in the Krishna-conscious society, still one should stick to the society. If one thinks the society members are not pure devotees, one can keep direct company with the spiritual master. And if there is any doubt, one should consult the spiritual master. However, unless one follows the spiritual master's instructions concerning the regulative principles and chanting and hearing the holy name of the Lord, one cannot become a pure devotee. By one's mental concoctions, one falls down. By associating with non-devotees, one breaks the regulative principles and is thereby lost. In the Upadeshamrita number 2 of Srila Rupa Goswami, it is said, Atyahara parayasyascha prajalpo niyamagraha janasangascha loyam cha sadbhir bhaktir vinashyati. One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities. 1. Eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. 2. Over endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. 3. Talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. 4. Practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. 5. Associating with worldly-minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And 6. Being greedy for mundane achievements. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunudhitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So the subject is the bhakti creeper and the fence. All of us in Alachua who have gardens, we know the importance of a fence. If you don't have a fence, you're trying to grow some vegetables or even some flowers, then the deer have free access, and they'll take that access and they'll destroy your garden. We got personal experience here. We're talking personal experience. So I'm sure all of you that have gardens, make sure that you have a nice fence around. Gardener means fence. But in this connection, the question could be asked, well, what type of fence do you need to guard against the type of loss that's being described in the verse and purport today? Will that same white picket fence, will the chicken wire fence, the deer-proof fence, will those materials, is that what it's talking about when it's referring to creating a fence here? Well, I'm afraid not. It's a bit more difficult fence because it requires us to fence ourselves with people. Not just people, devotees. The fence that will protect the bhakti creeper is a personal one. It involves persons. So that involves personal interaction, communication, love. Without taking this kind of a personal fence built around your bhakti creeper, your fence of deer-proof netting or whatever other kind of materials you have will be useless. We have to surround ourselves, as Prabhupada says in the purport here, by the society of pure devotees. That's what will give us the fence we need to protect the bhakti creeper. But let's break down that society of pure devotees a bit and try to understand what we can actually do, what we need to do. First of all, association of devotees can be understood in one sense as being a double-edged sword. A double-edged sword means that it cuts both ways. Association of devotees can also cut both ways. Obviously, associating with pure devotees in a society which Prabhupada specifically refers to here in the text, in the purport, ISKCON, his society, by associating with devotees according to his instructions in his society. That is one edge of the sword, and it can be very beneficial to us. It can be the fence, executed properly. It can be the fence that we need to protect our bhakti creeper that's so kindly been given to us by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada. But that same sword being double-edged, the same factor that we're talking about here, association of devotees, can also cut the other way. One way of utilizing the association of devotees, when used one way, it's the key to our advancement. But used another way, as a platform for criticizing or gossiping or other non-devotional activities, that can cut in such a way that it destroys our bhakti creeper, or it opens the fence. You can just imagine if you have your bhakti creeper surrounded by your closest associates and friends, devotees of the Lord. But if some link is broken in that chain of association amongst devotees, then the gates are open and our bhakti creeper can be destroyed. So one way association of devotees is the key to our advancement. But in another way, that same association, that same idea, association of devotees, can be the gateway to hell. It's just a fact that we should understand so that we don't use the wrong edge of the sword. Actually, this idea of the same thing being utilized one way for our benefit and utilized another way to our detriment, this kind of dichotomy is utilized by Sri Rupa Goswami in the Upadeshamrita in the verse that is quoted in the purport. The translation is, one's devotional service is spoiled when one becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities. So we'll skip right to the part that's important here. It says, practicing the rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement. Or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scripture and working independently or whimsically. So you can see that same double-edged sword working here. Srila Rupa Goswami uses this. In one way, the rules and regulations of Shastra are meant for our spiritual advancement. But if you take those same things, those same rules and regulations, and use them another way, then they have the opposite effect. Following them for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement. What would that look like? What would that dichotomy look like? Well, it could look like doing rituals. I think Prabhupada told the story of the cat with the bell tied around his neck. One time, some Brahmins were doing a sacrifice, and a cat was disturbing. So they caught the cat, put a bell around his neck, and used that to get him out of the way and stop the performance of the sacrifice. But because it was a ritualistic thing, not really done for spiritual advancement, but just for the sake of doing ritual, that belling the cat became a part of the ritual. So much so that years, decades later, the Brahmins were belling the cat without understanding where it came from or why you're doing it. So rules and regulations can be the key to our advancement, or they can be the key to our downfall if we're doing them simply for following rather than the real purpose to make spiritual advancement. So Rupa Goswami uses this in Upadeshamrita. I'm sure it can be found elsewhere in the Shastra as well. How principles of devotional service can have this double-edged sword effect. So if we want to prevent that, we want to have a strong fence to protect our bhakti creeper, and we understand that that fence is made up of devotee association, then we need to look at devotee association very carefully to understand how it can best be utilized. For instance, there are different types of association that is appropriate for different types of devotees. We need to know this. There are devotees who are in the society like ISKCON that Prabhupada refers to. There are devotees who are more advanced than us, that are less advanced than us, or who are equal with us in terms of spiritual advancement. This is the reality. We're all on the path, but we're situated by our own desire and our own efforts at different places on the path of bhakti. And all of us, no matter where we're situated, have to protect the bhakti creeper as it's being described here. But there are different ways in which we associate with devotees, more advanced devotees, equally situated devotees, or less advanced devotees. This is extremely important. And it has the same double-edged sword effect. If we can't determine ourselves as we really are situated in devotional service, and we can't automatically take the humble attitude in any circumstances, then at least we should understand who is an advanced devotee, what it means to be equally situated in terms of advancement with others, and those that are less advanced than ourselves. We need to know this, because if we don't know it, then we'll be opening up ourselves to letting the mad elephant of offense into our garden to destroy our bhakti creeper. There's a very graphic example of this explained in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And it involves Madhavendra Puri. such a great devotee as Madhya Puri and his very special contribution to the bhakti line. So Madhya Puri and his so-called disciple, Ramachandra Puri. Am I correct, Ramachandra Puri? Ramachandra Puri, disciple of Madhya Puri, such a wonderful opportunity. Such a wonderful opportunity. But what happened? Well, Ramachandra Puri was there at the time when his spiritual master was leaving this world. Again, fortunate opportunity. But what did he do? Not understanding who is an advanced devotee, who is less advanced than ourselves, who is equally situated, without understanding that, Ramachandra Puri was, without understanding his own position as being inferior to his spiritual master, Madhya Puri. What did he do? He dared to instruct his spiritual master at the time of his disappearance. He dared to instruct. Instructing one that is more advanced to ourselves is not appropriate way to associate with pure devotees. We have to know what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. How do you associate with more advanced devotees? Devotees equal to ourselves, or less advanced devotees. Ramachandra Puri didn't know this. And so despite being in a most fortunate opportunity, association that could cut ties completely to this material realm, instead of taking that edge of the sword, he dared take the other edge of the sword and advise, preach to, even criticize a more advanced devotee. Just try to understand how important it is to know what is a advanced devotee. It's not what you think. I'm anxiously, in my own study and hearing, anxious to hear the glorification of Vamsidas Babaji that His Holiness Indradumna Swami has made a recording of. Because Vamsidas Babaji is also another one. We may mistake his association and not take proper advantage of his association by not understanding what is an advanced devotee. Now, there are these great devotees, Ramachandra Puri, not Ramachandra Puri, Madhya Puri, and his dealings with the unfortunate Ramachandra Puri. There's Vamsidas Babaji. There are other devotees throughout history. So we need to know how to recognize what is a pure devotee. Because that is the best way to take advantage, to protect our creeper, to grow our creeper in the society of devotees. Prabhupada in his purport very liberally says that if you can't make this determination amongst the rank and file devotees of ISKCON, then you can associate directly with him. Unfortunately, some also criticized him. So as far as advanced devotees, we don't instruct devotees more advanced than ourselves, but rather we hear from them. We hear from them. We serve them. we go on hearing. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur didn't go to see Sheshai Vishnu during the Brajamandala Parikrama. He was staying back to give some classes. Srila Prabhupada stayed back to hear. He gave us a perfect example of how to associate with the spiritual master. Not question, but to serve. Not instruct, but to hear. So he stayed, and he was noted. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur noted. I've noted him. He likes to hear. That's how you associate with one more advanced. For those less advanced than ourselves, how do we associate with them? Well, out of compassion, we try to help them. Out of compassion for them, we give them our association. Not association that I'm better than you better listen to me. But no, out of compassion, welcome and help cultivate the bhakti creeper. Out of compassion. Jiva Doya, the fallen souls, not just our God brothers and God sisters, but Jiva Doya, all conditioned living entities. We try to give them Krishna consciousness. By doing that, we please the spiritual master. So it's a complete opposite from dealing with those more advanced. More advanced, we hear, we serve. Less advanced, we serve them out of compassion. And then, for those equally situated on the path of bhakti, and this is probably the most important for all of us because it's easily available in a society of devotees, is that we make friendships. Of course, double-edged sword again, making friends with devotees on the basis of Krishna consciousness, not on the basis of similar material background, common non-devotional interests. No. We make friendship with those who are equal, and we take pleasure in, as it says in Bhagavad Gita, discussing and enlightening one another on topics of Krishna. That's real friendship. We have to cultivate that friendship. So it's clear what it is. It should be there. But it's not so easy in personal relationships. Actually, our goal of all these things, the goal of the Bhakti Creeper growing, is to get out of this material world. And it's described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. This creeper grows up and it passes through all the layers of the universe and it lands at Krishna's lotus feet in the spiritual world. So to get there, we have to go through and develop our relationships, personal relationships, with those on an equal level of advancement, such as ourselves. That will be not only satisfying, sometimes it can be a little tense, quite honestly, dealing with those more advanced than ourselves, because we don't want to commit any offense and we may have to. be very careful, guarded in that situation to do the right thing in terms of association. Similarly, with those less advanced in ourselves, we have our old friend, if you call it a friend, false ego, that's been driving us birth after birth in this material world. So we have to watch that false ego that it doesn't get carried away. Oh, I'm more advanced than these people. I can do this or that. They have to follow me. They have to listen to me. Also, can be a very dangerous situation. But in a friendly relationship with those equally situated as ourselves, it's easier, less tension, less stress to have wonderful devotee association where you can share realizations and questions also. Being at friendly levels where questioning can be facilitated. I have a question, even I have a doubt. Where do I go to relieve myself of that doubt, to rid myself of that doubt? Certainly, going to those less than ourselves may not be the best thing. And sometimes going to those more advanced than ourselves may present the problem of being able to take what's given in that situation. But if we have a friend in devotional service, that can facilitate discussion, deep discussion, and cleansing of that doubt from our mind. So if we understand these three types of devotees in the society of devotees, we can individually build our fence to protect our bhakti creeper. Again, that fence is not made up of dull materials. It's made up of people, of devotees, and involves association. So I have a couple of examples here of what is appropriate behavior and what is not appropriate behavior. As I mentioned, associating, as Prabhupada says in the purport, with him directly. If you can't find any other association, appropriate association, then you can associate with him directly, with the spiritual master directly. But you can't associate and pick and choose instruction. That you can't do. Picking and choosing. I'll follow this instruction, but I don't like that one, so I won't follow it. That won't work. We talked about trying to instruct those more advanced in ourselves. That won't work either. So we need to do some self-searching, find out where we're situated and get a realistic view of that and act from that platform. And if we do that, then we can engage in the types of loving exchanges that make that fence very strong. So that loving exchanges are also given and explained by Rupa Goswami in the Upanishadamrita. So we all know this, but I want to go over it again because the 6 kinds of loving exchanges can be engaged in with all levels of devotees, more advanced, less advanced, or equally situated. For instance, giving prasadam and receiving prasadam. In a community like Alachua, at least before the pandemic, we would have many senior devotees, sannyasis, traveling and visiting us. Those are wonderful occasions not only for activities in the temple, but they gave us an opportunity to give prasadam, serve these advanced devotees by inviting them to our home and serving them prasadam. I like to think that I've been very fortunate in that regard to have many advanced devotees from this Krishna consciousness movement that we could serving them prasadam. And then we get the opportunity to take them take the Mahaprasad of advanced devotees. So even advanced devotees is one thing, but just friends, having the association with so many wonderful devotees, special quality of our community in Alachua. We're relatively living in the same area. Some places like Houston here, devotees live great distances from the temple. So we're fortunate to have taken over the town of Alachua. And it's filled with devotees. So we can share prasad with our God brothers and God sisters almost unlimitedly. So giving prasadam and receiving prasadam. We practice these things and it makes the fence stronger. Giving gifts and receiving gifts. We don't often think about this, just spontaneously give gifts to devotees. But we have the opportunity by the many central activities which are done by the temple that require gifts to help them occur regularly. We sort of like take it as given that there's going to be a Sunday feast, there's going to be a festival for Govardhan Puja, there's going to be new deity dress or whatever. We sort of take it for granted. But actually, these are opportunities for us to give gifts to devotees. We give donation to the temple, and they centrally provide services for all the devotees. So giving gifts, and then of course we receive the gifts. Mahaprasadam from the deities, deity dress, or Mahaprasadam delivered and found out in other ways. We have an opportunity to engage in these exchanges. That's the purpose of our community. Actually, Prabhupada explains in a purport in Nectar of Instruction that the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement is to facilitate these 6 types of loving exchanges. The last pair of the 6 revealing one's mind confidentially, and hearing another reveal their mind. These are very intimate exchanges, and we should take advantage of them because they will satisfy the heart. Then our bhakti creeper that's surrounded by that fence of devotees won't feel like they're locked in prison or something, and everyone, the person making the fence are like prison guards or something. I really want something else, but they're preventing me. No. That fence is made up of people who want to engage in these loving exchanges. That's the best way to protect the bhakti creeper. And simply by association with devotees, so much spiritual advancement can be made. Look at Upadeshamrita by Rupa Goswami. It's full of understandings and the intricacies of dealings amongst devotees. Upadeshamrita, the nectar of instruction. How to protect the bhakti creeper is meant to be a joyous path, celebration. So we should take advantage of it. All these things, and let our bhakti creeper grow, let it flourish, so that we can share this wonderful gift that Srila Prabhupada has given us with others. So that's about all that I wanted to say. But if there's some comments, realizations, or questions that anyone would like to share, we can do that. I don't know exactly how it's going to work, quite honestly, because I can't hear you. But is it possible, Lee, to do questions?
I'm gonna check on the YouTube.
What?
I'm gonna check on the YouTube channel.
Maybe through a chat or something.
Yeah. But I will tell us. There are no questions.
No questions. Okay, well, we'll take this opportunity to end our association this morning, hoping to have your association sometime soon. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.